Hello. Excuse me for my awkwardness. This is a serious recording that I'm trying to do. So this is a hot text video on all about the morality and ethics of acrylic yarn. No, that's kind of a joke. This is just my very well experienced opinion on how I see acrylic yarn and its genuine good uses. So I've been crocheting since I was 6 years old. I am now, what year is it? I'm 6 years old to 24. So that's a long time to be having experience with a lot of yarns. I grew up having to use the cheapest acrylic yarns possible, and now that I'm a grown up with my own income, I'm able to buy not acrylic yarn. So once you get around to starting to make clothes, you'll start like if you make it with acrylic yarn, it's good for the moment, but then give it a couple washes in the machine, even if you're following the care instructions, like genuine months, maybe even a year or two, it will start feeling really gross. At least a cheap acrylic yarn. I don't buy pricier expensive yarn, acrylic yarn, and I'll get into that later, but I have found that cheap acrylic yarn, once it's been washed a few times and all that, it feels like hardware rope. Now, like, you can wash these by hand, but I don't care enough about acrylic to wash it by hand. I don't think acrylic is good enough for that. Okay, so I don't like buying acrylic yarn generally, right? Because it's cheap. No, I mean, like, if I buy it cheap, that's, it's just going to get nasty after a while, honestly. Like, if it's just sitting there looking pretty, then it's fine. But if I'm spending more money for a nicer acrylic yarn, I just instead get more natural fibers. So I get my cotton or my wool or like a poly blend, right? By the way, do not stick wool in the washing machine. So I use acrylic yarn, like the cheap stuff, because I'm not buying pricier acrylic yarn. I buy cheap acrylic yarn specifically mainly to make toys. Now, I don't need to buy it anymore. I buy one of every color, so like a paint palette of yarn in that like what is it called? Just like the set, right? Just like that whole one brand set of yarn, I buy one of every color. Originally, I bought one of every color for acrylic yarn because I also have this one of every color fluffy chenille yarn. And because of that, I wanted to add an acrylic strand with that so then I can have two strands, and it makes it easier to see the fluffy strands as you're crocheting it. So I did that. I bought acrylic yarn for that purpose, but I now just use acrylic yarn as it is for when I'm making toys. The best way to use it for toys is if you're planning on needing to chuck it in the machine quite frequently because like your baby has thrown up all over it. So just things like baby toys and all that. However, if you are concerned with like microplastics and all that, cotton is perfectly fine. I just don't think cotton has that same fluff to be able to cover up like stitch hole gaps. Like, you can use as small of a hook as you want, but you're still just going to get one little decrease hole. Even if you're doing invisible decreases, you are still going to get a decrease hole that shows the polyester through it. So things like wool and acrylic yarn is great for making toys because it's got that puffy fluffness to it, so it's less likely to just look nice and taut in the nice and taut in the stitch definition, but that also means that there's going to be more gaps because, you know, the molecular structure of cotton is just ribbons. So if you're thinking about making a toy with ribbons, you're going to end up with gaps, and that's pretty much how that works. By the way, I dislike acrylic croquet. I dislike acrylic yarn. However, like, please don't take this as a snob this is my genuine experience of acrylic yarn, using it for 10 years or more now. Again, I've been crocheting since I was 6. I am now 24. So it's just, after multiple washes, it turns into hardware rope. Acrylic yarn is not worth it for me to hand wash. If I'm going to be hand washing stuff or spending more money, I'm just going to get, especially for like clothes making, I'm just going to use cotton. Cotton yarn is great. The thing with cotton yarn you want to keep in mind, it does really hold on to a lot of water. So that can kind of be for another hot take topic. But yeah, acrylic will dry out really fast because it's a plastic fiber. So it doesn't actually absorb water. The water just sort of gets held into place, and then once you like flick it out, it's practically molecularly dry. Like, plastic doesn't absorb water. Alright, so it's only been about 6 minutes. I've got another 5 minutes left to talk about acrylic yarn. Okay, so I've thought about some extra topics now when it comes to acrylic yarn. I'll start off with like poly blends, all that sort of stuff. That stuff is good, actually. A poly blend cotton, I need to buy some of that yarn. However, okay, so this is where I was thinking, oh, I'll talk about cotton another time, but I'll just kind of make some brief points here now. So I made a shower mitten out of just pure cotton yarn. It's great. However, it's living in the shower, so, you know, it gets wet, right? However, it doesn't dry. It just does not dry. So it just stays constantly wet, and it will eventually fall apart, rot, degrade, turn garbage, right? So in the future, and if you're listening to this and you're thinking about making bathroom products, cotton is great, but I don't think 100% cotton is the way to go unless you're just going to take it out of the bathroom and hang it outside to dry. So I believe, this is just my theory, again, acrylic yarn dries really, really quickly because it's not absorbing anything, because it's just plastic. So you need cotton acrylic or cotton polyester blend, right? A 50-50. Because the cotton is good for that softness. It's not going to turn into hardware rope after time because it's blended in with the plastic. The plastic stops the amount of weight that the yarn is. That's another thing. Cotton yarn is heavier. It's more dense than plastic yarn, and when you add water to that, that is just like a weighted blanket waiting to happen. So if you're gonna make bathroom products, or even just like a dish scrubby or anything to do with cleaning, it is in my best belief that you should use cotton, acrylic, or polyester blends. Now, I could be wrong here. I am going off of my brain from memory, which is probably not great, and I can always have a correction later on. However, the difference between acrylic and polyester is that polyester is a breathable plastic. Now, acrylic will just insulate and trap that heat in. Not good for the Australian or heat weather either. That's why cotton's very good. Cotton's breathable, keeps you sort of cool and blah blah blah. Anyway, also it absorbs your sweat and disperses it into nature. I think it does absorb it, and it is hard to dry. Anyway, cotton is just better for hot climates, but the acrylic is going to trap in that heat, keep you hot. So if you're in snow climates and you don't want to spend good money on wool, which is fair enough, expensive, acrylic to keep that heat trapped in, great. However, polyester, that is used in a lot of sportswear, blah 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 blah. Polyester can, and I think will, help you keep cool. So although they're both plastic fibers, I need to look into how the spinning or the different type of plastic, maybe just the technology behind all of that. I need to figure out why one is breathable and one keeps you hot and sweaty, but it just does. So if you see polyester cotton blends and all that, That is still going to keep you cool. Probably cotton polyester is better for clothing wear. You just want to make some educated guesses. So perhaps pure cotton is going to keep you a little bit wet but still dry off, but a cotton polyester may help keep you cool still, but also disperse the humidity that your body can create, the sweat, right? So these are just my off the brain estimations. Anyways, I hope this video was something to listen to. I hope my drawn out accent doesn't make it hard to listen or understand what I'm saying. I will probably slowly learn how to speak more properly. Anyway, thank you for listening. This has gone a little bit longer than the video, but that's fine. Thank you. I hope you have a good day. Bye.